was a small-town player. He's a very smart, disciplined man.
Who was Whitey Bulger? James Joseph Whitey Bulger was the boss of the largely Irish mob in Boston from the 1970s through the 1990s. His longevity and success in organized crime largely can be attributed to protection he received as a high-level FBI informant. Bulger was notorious for his willingness to use violence and especially murder to achieve his criminal goals. His first arrest at the age of 14 would send him to reformatory. Bulger brothers would go a very different direction. One of them, William Bulger, would serve as a member of the Massachusetts Senate for 25 years and president of the University of Massachusetts for 7 years. Whitey, however, as a young man was in and out of jail for various assault and theft charges. Bulger was released in 1965 and he went to work for a local Irish-American gang at the time, when rival factions were at war. Bulger with the Killian gang committed his first homicide during this war in case of mistaken identity. Bulger shot and killed the innocent twin brother of a rival gangster. According to some biographers, Bulger switched sides and killed the leader of his old gang. Although it is disputed by other sources, what is not disputed is that by 1972, Bulger and his new allies in the Mullen gang were top dogs among gangsters in Boston. During this period, Bulger cemented his reputation for violence by using murder as a means of discipline for wayward Mullen gang members. He was implicated in the deaths of at least 3 of his cohorts. In 1979, the boss and deputy of the Winter Hill gang, as it became known, were arrested for fixing horse races, and Bulger took over the gang leadership. What few knew at the time was that Bulger had been an FBI informant since at least 1974. Bulger worked with FBI agent John Connolly, who grew up in South Boston and went to school with Bulger. Connolly proudly affirmed his acquisition of high-level informants from the Winter gang, who could help him take down Italian mafia. Connolly represented the FBI's obsession with Italian-American crime families, and Bulger fed a steady stream of information on the Patriarca crime family, based in nearby Providence, Rhode Island. Patriarca family members were sometimes allies but often rivals with the Winter Hill gang, and the FBI essentially sided with the South Boston gang in their competition. It was later revealed in court that Bulger was not indicted along with his fellow gang members in 1979 because Connolly intervened to protect his informant. In the 1980s, Bulger started shaking down narcotic distributors and supplying weapons to the Irish Republican Army, which was fighting the British government in Northern Ireland. According to biographers, Bulger kept a sort of code around his involvement in narcotics, refusing to allow heroin to come into South Boston. For example, in 1991, Bulger muscled himself into a share of 14 million winning lottery ticket from the legal lotto, a ticket that was sold in a store he controlled. In December 1994, Connolly held his informant one last time and told Bulger that the arrests were coming. Bulger fled to Boston, but his high-level associates in the gang were arrested. Bulger spent the next 16 years on the Sun as a fugitive. Joining him for much of the time, beginning in 1999, was his girlfriend Catherine Greig. That during his time as a fugitive, Bulger traveled frequently and was reported in Southern California, Vancouver, British Columbia and London. He and Craig ultimately were arrested in 2011 outside the townhouse in Santa Monica, California, a few blocks from the beach. Bulger was arraigned on July 6, 2011 on 48 federal charges, including 19 charges of murder. 2 years later, a jury found Bulger guilty of 31 counts and he was sentenced to life in prison plus 5 years. Connolly was convicted in 2002 and sentenced to 10 years. In 2008, Connolly was convicted of a second-degree murder for another one of Bulger's victims. In Florida, 26 years earlier, he was sentenced to 40 years on that conviction, considering that Connolly would spend the rest of his life in prison. After his conviction, Bulger served time in several federal prisons, with the longest stretch in Coleman, Florida. On October 30, 2018, Bulger, 89 years old and using a wheelchair because of a hip injury, was killed just hours he arrived at Hazleton Federal Prison in West Virginia. Fellow inmates beat him to death using a padlock stuffed inside the sock. Bulger's eyes also appeared and have been cut out, and that was the end. Whitey Bulger.